concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man. And it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm going to pop a top in your honor.
Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan, I always have been, and to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me, and just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you can feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast, episode 364. Welcome. I'm sorry, we had a bunch of technical glitches behind the scenes, but we are going to persevere, if you will, and we're going to work our way through and try to get some points out of games we may have lost, right? So work our way through and try to get some points out of games we may have lost, right? So work our way through and try to get some points out of games we may have lost. Two special guests, the return of Annie Knox, the return of Annie Knox, welcome on in, Janaea first, the return of Annie Knox, welcome on in, Janaea first, the return of Annie Knox, welcome on in, Janaea first, the return of Annie Knox,
a little interesting for the wild card positioning, and a little interesting for the wild card positioning, and a little interesting for the wild card positioning, and a little interesting for the wild card. So I'm happy about that. To be able to use my bedroom again shortly. So I'm happy about that. My best friend is about to have a kid. Yeah, I've got my best friend, which I am godmother of, so that's very exciting. My best friend, which I am godmother of, so that's very exciting. Other than that, nothing really. Best friend, just babies, which I am. Oh, I should mention though, what Gil and I were just talking about on air. Oh, I should mention since I am a Canadian import on air. Oh, I should mention since I am a Canadian import on air.
Absolutely.
I don't mind being ripped off, but that is, that was very good. I don't mind being ripped off, but that is, that was very good. I don't mind being ripped off, but that is.
I'm being told that there's an echo.
I don't mind being ripped off, but that is.
I'm being told that there's an echo.
I don't mind being ripped off.
I'm being told that there's an echo. Bitch. Well. This is why it's good to have people that are guests on, or people in chat to let me know that I had another window with our podcast open on it. So it was getting a 7-second delay on a feedback loop. So it's not an echo, it's a loop. Yes, I get it now. So you try a million things and you get prepared for stuff and still not everything happens right. So anyway, I apologize for the audio glitches the beginning, but we have now fixed it. So what time are we at? We're 11 minutes in, so I'll let people know that if they don't want to deal with that bullshit, they can fast forward 11 minutes. And but thank you so much. It's actually Casey who's letting us know about that, and so I appreciate him for tuning in. Titan Rising KM. We've actually got a lot of wrestling news coming up in hour 2, and I'm watching Raw live and the aftermath of the wrestling in the background as well. I apologize to everyone for the audio glitches, but I really appreciate Casey for telling me only 10 minutes in, so it's not too brutal. All right, so Gil, real quick, let people know what's on the latest Power Play Point podcast, and then we'll get going.
Yes, a very passionate episode indeed, regaling these last 3 games, among other things that happened, good and bad, this past week. The Mermaid is back with me this week to help me through that. and hopefully avoid some sort of therapy bill at the end. All kidding aside, we go through what was a crazy week featuring a game I had the pleasure of attending live. It's pretty much it. And of course, we have our open door that anyone who wants to come on with us is a Caps fan, wants to talk about the Caps with us. Doors open wide. We're on next week. Toying with the idea of not doing a show the week after, since very much like this show, we really won't have anything to talk about. But definitely doing an early Super Bowl Sunday edition. So if you're interested in that, please let us know.
Sounds good. And Janae, I know that you're a couple of games behind on your YouTube channel. Do you want to give people an update on what you're up to? And by the way, my suggestion is to do like a recap episode, and I just feel so bad. Like I feel like I've been there where you're behind on something and then you have to play catch up, and then it gets really annoying.
Yeah, you're like, it's not fun anymore because I don't even remember what happened.
What happened? So, as somebody who often takes breaks for a certain amount of weeks, and we just do a recap episode and then we move on, that's my suggestion to you, live on air. Take it or leave it. But Janae, let people know what you're up to.
Yes, I totally would have taken that suggestion too had you given it to me earlier before I had recorded most of them. But no, I might do that for the last few, like the ones that I hadn't recorded yet, because when you mentioned it the last time I was on, whenever that was it seemed like a pretty good idea to me. So, because yeah, it is hard to catch up. But yeah, I have the YouTube channel, Janae Talks Caps, and I do a post-game reaction video after every Capitals game. They are normally like right after the game. Like I normally have them posted up the next day after the game. That's what I was doing for most of the season. I've fallen way behind because of the flooding in my condo, so I wasn't able to record it all for quite a period of time there because it was just a mess in here. So and lots of noise and things too when they have the dehumidifiers going. So yeah, I wasn't able to record it all for a while, so I felt quite behind. So I think I'm like, I don't know, like 8 or 10 games behind now, but I have been working hard to get them all recorded and get them caught up. So at this point, though, I was kind of thinking, like, because we have the Four Nations break coming up. So I have a bunch right now that are like actually recorded and edited and ready to post, but I've kind of been holding some back just because I kind of want to have some content still coming out during the Four Nations break, because I know lots of people get kind of bored when they have those long breaks off from the actual NHL games. So it'll be good, I think, because during the Four Nations break, I'll have some video content to put out for actual Washington Capitals stuff. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do it. I might do something for like when Canada plays USA, maybe perhaps, because I'm looking forward to that one for sure. You guys probably are all as well. Yeah, so I'm going to be putting out some videos coming up here shortly to kind of get caught up, and I'll be releasing a bunch of them leading up to and throughout the Four Nations break to kind of give Capitals fans something to still be able to watch Capitals wise during the break.
Perfect.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I definitely will be binging content. And just for an update for people who are tuning into our podcast here, we will be doing also a modified schedule. So we're doing this one, which is like a Capitals and Super Bowl recap or preview. Next week will be Caps and Super Bowl recap. The 17th we are going to take off, which I feel bad about, Gil. We'll miss your birthday, but I hope that you have an awesome birthday and now you don't have to work on it. So that's good. And also the Caps are off for 2 weeks. We have no Capitals playing in this tournament, so it's kind of a hard sell for me to try to like cover it as part of it. We'll be back on the 24th, and then on the 3rd, and then the 10th, we're going to celebrate 9 years of this program, which we would usually celebrate on the 17th, but I'm taking my wife to a concert for her birthday on the 17th. So we'll start our spring break a week early for our break between seasons. So on the 10th, we'll celebrate 9 years.
Well, that's my birthday.
And yeah, it's crazy how close your guys' birthdays are to each other.
I know.
It's
oh
1
my
week
God,
apart.
9 years. That's
It's wild. It's so yeah, we'll celebrate the end of season 9, celebrate 9 years, and we'll look ahead to season 10, and then we're going to take a long extended break between them. So the 17th, the 24th, and the 31st, we're taking off for the rest of March, and then the first week, in April 7th, we will recap basically almost the last month for the Capitals and look ahead to the last couple of weeks. And then I believe the 14th is our last show of the regular season before it goes to playoffs time. So, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that'll be a fun way to start season 10, leading up into the playoffs. We're in pretty good standings right now. People don't know where we are in the standings. We are the number 1 team in the East. And in fact, the game that Gil went to was a battle between the number 1 team in the East and the number 1 team in the West. And with that, I think I'll use it as a segue to get into some game action. Let me see. If this works, and there we go, and I have to do a little bit of futzing live, and that looks like it is pretty good right there. So, for people who don't know, we actually do live game stats where we showcase the goals in sort of a visual way so people can sort of see how they come. And Gil has done some additional editing to some of these videos, so I have not seen them ahead of time. I like to be surprised in what happens live on air. Dangerous proposition, but I trust Gil.
He only goes streaking across the rink once.
Exactly.
We're just not going to tell you when.
All right. With that being said, Gil, why don't you take it away with our first goal of the week?
All right. So this was from the first game of the week against the Calgary Flames. Okay, so picking up the action here, Protas pretty much starts the play behind the net, pushes it around the end boards. Chychrun saves it at the point, throws it on net. This takes a crazy bounce off of 2 players after McMichael throws it. And then Dubois just happens to be in the slot area to pick up the garbage and put it in.
Yeah, nice goal. A good way to get it started against the Flames, who are a team that I love to hate because I tend to root for the Oilers as one of my other teams, out west that I like, and so obviously they hate the Flames, and Janae doesn't like that. But you don't like any of the other. It seems like you don't like any of the other Canadian teams. So
no, I like Calgary. I lived in Calgary for 4 years, so I got to cheer for the Flames.
So you're rooting for the Flames instead of the. Okay, got it. All right. Well, I'll let you give your thoughts first then on since you were beloved Flames.
Totally love them. No. No, I was happy to see Dubois get another goal here because he's been on fire. So that was really like where it started and ended for me with this goal. I was just happy to see him get on the board again. He was so snake bitten for the first half of the season, and now it's kind of turned for him where his chances are actually starting to go in for him. So it's great to see that he's finally getting rewarded for all of the hard work that he's been putting in because he's been playing amazing. All of his underlying numbers are incredible. The goals just weren't going in for him. He was getting a lot of assists, obviously, but it's nice to see the puck actually start going in for him. So I was happy to see him get another one here, and especially for us to get off on the right foot after that somewhat terribly boring game that I went to in Vancouver. So it was good to see them get off to a good start here.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we talked about it last week, but disappointing. I have to say, you've gone to a lot of wins in a row. I want to say that of the last 10 games there, they had won 7 of them or something.
Yeah, I really can't complain too much because they have won almost every single game I've ever been to. I think I've been to probably at this point, I've been to probably 15, 16, 17 games, something like that. And not just in Vancouver, I've been in Calgary. We went to game 5 in Vegas. That was a big one, obviously. I've been to Madison Square Garden. They won there. They've won almost every single game that I've ever gone to. And Ovechkin has scored 2 or 3 goals as well in almost every single game that I've ever gone to. So I really can't complain too much. But yeah, that one in Vancouver was a little bit sleepy for me.
Yeah, we did show your footage last week in the same segment that you had shot. So thank you for sending that along. So if anyone missed our recap of those goals and showing some of the footage of that, you can definitely check out the last episode 363 for that. With that, Anna, do you have any thoughts on this goal?
No, you know what? Gil and I talked about this yesterday, and I was feeling the same as Janaea with PLD. I love to hear it. He had a fantastic week, and I hope to see it continue.
For sure. All right, let's move ahead to the next goal. This one gives them a 2-1 lead after the Flames had tied it up, and Gil, take it from there.
Okay, so Caps are on the power play here, and not much is ever said about it, but John Carlson really is the maker of this play here. Caps win the draw. They've got it. They're cycling, and he holds and holds and holds, as you can see here at the right circle, and waits for just the right time to throw a seam pass right there for Dylan Strome. He actually takes 2 chances at it. The second time he managed to get it past Wolf for the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go to Anna next this time. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no. Anytime I see Strome on there, I'm excited, and I agree. I think that patience level right there and skill level with Carlson is exactly what we expect and what we want to see, and I think that's just awesome, and I love it, and I need to see Strome's name more. I feel like it was a little time of not seeing his name as often, but I am loving it and can't go wrong with Chick. So
yeah, and Janae, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, just agree with everything they said. Phenomenal pass by Carlson. Got 26 assists already. He's like literally been worth every penny of that contract he signed. It's not very often that you see a guy sign like 8x8, and he's actually lived up to that contract. So 35 years old now, still putting a ton of points on the board. And yeah, I agree with Anna. Like Strome for me had been a little bit cold recently, so it was great to see him get on the board. I actually had said to who I was watching the game with, like I had turned to her and said right before he had scored this goal, like I was like, man, I wish Strome would get on the board because he hasn't really lately.
yeah.
So yeah, it was really nice to see him kind of get off that little bit of a cold streak that he was on and get back on the scoreboard.
For sure. I was very excited to see him score a goal as well. All right, the next one is Protos, who has been fabulous all season long. Just blossoming into the star that we would hope he would be with the size and skills that he has. And Gil, take it away from there.
So at the start of this play, Caps are actually shorthanded, as you can see. So it's Eller and Van Riemsdyk winning the board battle. Eller happens to see Protos streaking towards the net, and he gets it to him. And as you can see, little Connor McMichael popping out. So it's not a shorthanded goal. We don't associate Protos and short, but in this case, he's got one shorthanded goal already, and this one was almost a shorthanded goal. So yeah, this one was pretty good, I thought. And yeah, as you can, yeah.
I love it. All right, Janae, what are your thoughts on this almost shorthanded goal?
Did you guys see how Protos had like squatted down to make
that's what the picture's based on.
It was so funny. I was like, thank you. Because the height difference is so comical. But yeah, I mean, what can you say? Like Protos, 21 goals already. He's almost scored up to his age already. We're like halfway through the season. Incredible player. Time to get a Protos jersey, I think. Like I'm probably gonna buy one. He's locked in. He's locked in already. Like got the new 5-year contract at an incredible cap hit for the Caps. So yeah, I think that's gonna be my next jersey. But I just love everything about this kid. Like he's the hardest working player on the ice every night. He wins every single board battle, puck battle, all over the ice. He's good in all 3 zones. Kills penalties. They're going to finally put him on the power play now, I've heard, which is great because I've been screaming for that for a while. I don't understand why he hasn't been on the power play. And yeah, I mean, he's just been so good in every area. Like all of his points have come because he hasn't been on the power play. All of his points have come at 5-on-5 too. Like I saw the other day, I think he was up until the other day, he was like 6th in the entire National Hockey League in 5-on-5 scoring, ahead of Connor McDavid. So like that's pretty good if you're ahead of Connor McDavid at anything. So yeah, he's playing incredible, and really hope that he's going to keep it up. And I think he will because he has all of the tools. Like it's not an accident that he's getting these goals and these points.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, what are your thoughts?
Love him. Love him. This has just been a fantastic season for Protos, and I love everything about it, and I agree. Yeah, 21 goals, so close to his age, and he is, I think, just going to keep getting better, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see TVR with an assist.
Yeah, I agree. Let me see. Does this work? No, I have to do it this way. All right. The next one is actually in the next game. So Ottawa scores first in this, and then we're able to tie it. And so I'll let Gil take it from there.
Okay, so a little bit of cycling going on here. Something of a power play, sort of, but it had broken up. It had ended by the time the goal was scored. Really, Connor McMichael makes this play. Once he's found at the right circle, pretty much all by himself, makes a great move on the goalie Forsberg. So when it leads up to him, you won't see it here, but that's all him making a great move and then putting it just under the bar. And that's yeah.
Yep. All right, Anna, I'll let you go first on this one.
I'm sorry. Really bad jokes here. Sorry.
Yeah, we get it, Gil. It's all good.
We're used to it by now.
Yeah, no, I will say that Ottawa, I did not watch the game all the way through, so I did see this though. And I don't know, I kind of was putting Connor McMichael on my Dylan Strome list. They're a little cold. Needed to see him do something, and I think for both of them, once they get in the groove again, we're going to start hearing their names and seeing more points from them. So this was great to see.
Yeah, for sure. And Janae, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, Anna literally took the words out of my mouth. Like McMichael has been in the exact same boat as Strome for me. Like he's gone really cold recently. So it was great to see him get this goal here because I think he's a player that once he gets hot, he'll just keep rolling. And it was a beautiful goal, so it should give him some confidence again shooting the puck.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, I have to say that this game was kind of making me sleepy at times. It was hard for me to focus. I was just it wasn't the most exciting game at times, but I was very happy that they were able to get themselves back into it, and I was so excited for both of these guys to get going again. So
very much needed.
Yeah, and hopefully this will help them, continue. And then I got Dylan Strome here with his 14th goal. Made it 3-2 Ottawa, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll let Gil break this one down.
Okay, Caps on the power play again. Strome wins the draw, gets it back to Ovechkin, and they play the two-man game on the point for a quick while, and then Strome takes it over. And I don't know how this shot goes in, but this was one hell of a shot here from the right circle after the dish from Carlson, and good enough for his 14th.
Mm-hmm. And Janae, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I distinctly remember that they were on the power play here, and before this goal, they really hadn't shot the puck yet in this game, and I was just screaming like every fan does, like, shoot the puck! And what does Strome do? He finally just shoots it and wires it right under the bar. So great shot by him, and yeah, another assist for Carlson. I think it's kind of the same as like when Backstrom used to be on that half wall. It's almost like nobody really expects Strome to shoot, and then when he does, it kind of surprises the goalie a little bit. So great shot and great deception by him to make that goal happen.
And great job by two of our players down low to suck the people in. We've been talking about this all season long. Just a lot of net front presence and just a lot of traffic up front. And the goalie has to pay attention to too many things. And as you said, 17 doesn't usually shoot, so you're playing odds that he's going to pass it to somebody, and he guessed wrong. Anna, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, no, everything that you guys said, it ditto. I love it, and I love all three names on this particular goal.
Yeah. Carlson, 27 assists from the defensive position.
Love it.
Amazing. And
also, it kind of seems like this season, like because Ovechkin's he's getting so close to the Gretzky record now. It's almost like teams are expecting the Caps to want to pass it to him all the time. And so like they're kind of expecting it even more than usual. And it kind of leaves other people open. And the Caps, to their credit, they're taking advantage of it. Like they're not just trying to feed Ovi all the time. They're actually not feeding him nearly as much as I would like them to on the power play. Like he barely ever actually gets a pass on the power play. But they're really taking advantage of teams kind of overplaying Ovi.
Yeah. And to your credit, and I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, people are like, oh, Caps are just a one-trick pony and all this sort of stuff. And it really proves that his shot numbers would be up, not down, if they were really just trying for the record. And I just love the fact that no one expected us to be the number one team in the East at this point in the season. And we'll talk about the next game a little bit. But, Gil, I think you went to the perfect game in the sense that you don't lose to an East Coast team. You get a point, but you also hand them a little bit closer to the President's Trophy, right? So, it's kind of like the best of all worlds in a lot of ways.
And they can have it.
Yes. Exactly. So,
I said before the game, an OT loss is perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I wanted. An overtime loss and an Ovechkin goal. Sign me up.
So, Gil, you did great. Fantastic. With the next goal was actually by Alexander Ovechkin. So speak of the devil. And I'll let Gil break this one down.
Nothing really to say here. Great corner work by Dubois, McMichael, and Protas here to loose the puck. Ovechkin recovers it practically at the point and then throws a seeing eye puck for number 876.
I like it.
There you go.
Yeah, just some awesome stuff to get us back into this game. I'll go to Anna first. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, I'm just humbled, I have to say, as a fan, just that we are experiencing such greatness. It is really fantastic, and I love the fact that I actually I heard on the radio today they were doing an interview with Spencer. Asking hey, in the locker room, is everything about this, he's 17 goals, he's this close, he's this, and he said, absolutely not. He said, and that's what makes the team so amazing, is like, that isn't their number one focus, but that when he does score, everybody is beyond excited, but that, they're able to look at, go out there and play their best for the team, and then when Ovechkin scores, it's just that much better. So it's cool to hear.
Actually, I think that's why he's been able to be so successful this season. I think in the past, a lot has been focused on some of these, milestones, and then sometimes like right around it, he gets tight, right, and he doesn't seem to produce. We'll see when he gets one or two away if that changes, but. Right. So far, I think that this workman-like attitude is really, worked well for the Caps, and credit to Carberry for steering the ship and pushing the buttons and being able to have different, lineups and be able to do lots of really great stuff with it. I'll let Janaea give her thoughts while I try to figure out what's going on.
And my dog's looking because he can hear your dog. Where is that coming from? And like what Robbie was talking about, I think Ovi wouldn't want it that way either. Like he doesn't want people focusing on him. He wants to win. And that's always been what he's wanted. And that's such a giant misconception about him that has bothered me so much, because like anyone that's ever played with him, like any of his current teammates, past teammates, like guys who played with him 10, 15 years ago, even when he was guys who played with him when he was a rookie, like they've all been consistent the entire time saying that you guys have got this guy so wrong. All he cares about is winning. And people just continue to churn out that garbage that he's an individualistic guy and all he cares about is himself. It's just not true at all. Like he wants to win. That's what he cares about above all else. And I think like right now, kind of seeing how the perception around him has changed, it's really nice. It feels almost vindicating, because I feel like I know myself, Robbie, like I'm sure you two as well. Like I haven't known you guys as long, but like I'm sure we're all kind of Ovechkin truthers, if you will, right? Like we've been there since day one. We've always believed in him. Like, we've been cheering him on the whole time, even when they hadn't won the cup yet. So it feels kind of vindicating right now that everyone else is kind of seeing what we've always seen, and everyone else is kind of getting on board with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, just one more thing too. Like Robbie said, people saying that the Caps are a one-trick pony. We're a one-trick pony with the most double-digit goal scorers in the National Hockey League. So how can we be a one-trick pony?
Yeah.
Well, and then I've never heard another player say a bad thing about him on our team, on other teams and stuff like that. So, that says a lot right there, especially because Russians in the past have not gotten that sort of treatment. And so he had to earn that sort of, treatment. And it's not every superstar. I mean, I'm looking at Connor McDavid and what's going on there, right? And his fight with the league and, complaining about not getting calls and stuff like that. Ovi doesn't draw a particularly large number of calls himself, right? For a superstar, right? But I've never heard him complain about it. And he just hits them back, right? Like he just I don't think it doesn't, but not like dirty, he just uses physicality and takes, matters in his own hands, right? And scores a goal and shuts them up that way or whatever. And my favorite game I ever went to, he bloodied his nose, got a goal, then got 4 assists after that, and just that was his answer. He doesn't get upset that, probably has a broken nose, bleeding all over the ice, had to go out and come back in. Just put up 5 points quietly, and it weren't all goals in that game. They were actually almost all assists. So it's just you can do it in so many different ways. And
he's never drawn a lot of calls. Like, he's never been like Crosby, who gets all the calls. And somebody posted that the other day too, the actual numbers behind that. Since McDavid's rookie season, he's first in the league in penalties drawn, and it's by an astronomical number. He's 57 ahead of the second next guy or something like that.
Wow.
So, and he's still complaining about it. So I love that about Ovechkin. He never complains. He just shuts up and plays hockey. I think it was Brendan Dubinsky who said that when he was comparing Ovechkin and Crosby, right?
Yep.
Back when he was on the Rangers, or maybe he was on Columbus at that point. I don't remember. But that's basically what he said about Ovechkin. He said, Crosby whines, Ovi shuts up and plays. And that's why we love him.
That was it.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the next goal in this one. This one ties it up. Another Dylan Strome goal, and this one, his 15th, another Ovechkin assist from the guy who only shoots goals. It's I'll let Gil break this one down.
Okay, so as pick up the action here, Tom Wilson with the outlet pass to Ovechkin, who gains the zone. His turn to play playmaker, as you said, Robbie. And this was another nice goal by Strome in the game. He actually picks it up, does this turnaround shot, gets his own rebound, then puts it back in, and it was his second of the game. So if you thought one was great, well, twice as nice.
I love it. Anna, what are your thoughts on being on the board again?
Oh, what could I possibly follow up with after Gil's pun? No, like we said, Dylan Strome was cold, and we knew seeing him score was just going to be a continuation, and you can't go wrong with a number 8, number 43 assisting him, I should say, and it's awesome. And I just, I don't think there's anything negative to say about Strome, to be honest. Consistent, badass player.
Yep. And loves being a Washington Capital.
Yeah.
Yep, nice. Doing some awesome stuff. Jay, anything else you want to add to this one?
No, you guys pretty much said it all. Just, great to see Strome get another one. And really this game and the next game, I'm sure we'll talk about, that Gil went to against Winnipeg. They're down by 2 goals in both games. And it was really it was number 8 and number 17, putting the team kind of on their back, that top line, getting them back into both of these games. So it was great to see, they have so much chemistry between the two of them. And I know they're still kind of trying to figure out who they want to be the right winger on that line. In the long term, they've tried a few different people, but Strome and Ovi together, it's beautiful. It works so well. And they got us back into these last 2 games to at least get us a point out of them.
It's very Backstrom-like, right? I thought that only Backstrom could really be that guy for Ovi, but it's nice to see that they were able to, with Dylan Strome, because I don't think Kuzi was ever that guy, for OV, right? In that same way, they had some success, a couple of times, but seems like at a very different level to me. So with that, so we did lose this game unfortunately in overtime, but we're going to skip ahead of that. We got some footage from the warm-up here. So that's kind of our lead into the next game. So Gil did get to go to the battle of the top two teams, the battle of the top team in the East and the West between the Capitals and the Winnipeg Jets. I love the Caps in the black uniform. I could not find. I was going to use that as a prop, but I could not find it today. My 43 black jersey, but I do love it. It's my favorite jersey. It's Ovi's favorite jersey, which is the most important thing. So I always think that they look great in that. I know it's controversial, and not all the Capitals fans agree with that. Some people think we should only ever be red, which, the Rock the Red era and things like that, I understand. But with that, we're going to skip ahead. We are down 2-0 when Pierre-Luc Dubois scores this goal. And Gil, I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, so Dubois actually starts the play here with the rush with Karlsson on his wing, goes to the net, not successful. Karlsson recovers, puts it on net, kind of a scrum here, and Dubois just basically uses his size and strength to pick up the garbage and fling it in.
Yep. And Anna, what are some of your thoughts on this goal?
Just following Gil so hard. No, happy again that this week we are talking about Dubois. Like I'm loving hearing his name, and again, there's your consistent number 74. I love to see Karlsson with the assist. So this was great. I was hoping. Is this in the second period? No, this was great to see. I like PLD all the way.
Yeah, I'm happy that we were able to sort of gather some momentum early in the second because it was a rough first period. And I would put it this point, Winnipeg had not lost a game in which they led after any period in the game, which is wild to me, but also explains how they got to be the number one team in the West. But so we knew it was going to be a tough hill to climb, but I'm happy that we were able to push this game to overtime. But Janae, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't start great, obviously, but I was honestly kind of expecting that because you kind of see that with every team when they've just had a long road trip and then they come home and the first period's usually a little bit stinky, which it was. So I was just happy to see like the determination, the fight to get back in the game, right? Because Winnipeg is a team that like once they get ahead, they do not let you tie the game. So it was great by the Caps to see them come back, and Connor Hellebuck too. Like he's like 2 goals or fewer, like clockwork all season. So for them to get as many goals as they did on him was great to see as well. But yeah, I love PLD getting the first one. I love this player. Like I really do. I think he was so misunderstood, like in Los Angeles where he was last season. And I'm just really happy to see him succeeding. You can tell he really loves being here, really loves all of his teammates. And quick note too, like in the previous game, he had Carberry had benched him right after he took that unsportsmanlike penalty for beaking off to the officials. So Carberry sits him down for I think it was like the rest of the period. He comes back in the third period, plays great, helps the Caps make the comeback in that one. And then the next game here, he starts off the scoring for us again. So he's really like he's got the right attitude. He's not sulking after he gets benched. He just comes right back and gets back to work and helps the team. So yeah, I was really happy to see him get the first goal here. Love the celebration by him as well after he scored. Like you could tell, like the guys they score a goal and they feel like they're going to come back in the game. Like they just believe in themselves. So it's great to see that as well.
Yeah, Carbs just pushes all the right buttons. I'm just so impressed with his ability to mix and match and lineups and change things and just able to still, we just haven't lost multiple games in regulation in a row, really, like hardly at all season, maybe one time. So like it's pretty impressive the amount of point streaks we've been on and just being able to make something out of games that you could have easily go down 2-0 after a long road trip, could have just thrown up your hands and not put an effort in here, but they do. And And it's crazy because they actually get scored on. Winnipeg scores the next goal, which can also be very deflating, right? And then we're able to turn around and make it 3-2, which is a big time goal here. And I'll let Gil break this one down.
Okay, so there's more to see in the video immediately afterward, but this was pretty much the epitome of fluky goals here. It gets pushed into the zone. Eller, I don't think he chases it but doesn't touch it, hence why he doesn't get an assist. Matt Roy really is the one that makes this play go. Bradish recovers it, and it looks like Hellebuck got it, but as we'll see in a few seconds, he didn't got it. He didn't actually have it. It did indeed go into the net in a very unusual way.
All right, let's see. I think I have this one.
Okay, so here's Roy coming into the screen. He's the first to see it. He coming on the scene, he points it out. And then Frank sees it, he points it out. The referee is jumping up. I don't know what happened there, but
yeah, I replayed it because I just thought it was hard.
Okay, so here comes the ref. He's trying to wear it like a buckle or something. I don't know. Then he points, good goal. Okay, celebrations ensue. Here comes the overhead shot here. You're going to see it for really good here. Here's the shot. Whap! Makes the water bottle go dingy-dongy. Well, you're going to see what makes it go dingy-dongy here in a second. Coming in from the right-hand side, and schmack, right under the bar there. There's the dingleberry right there. Stuck under the back frame pole that supports the net. That's where it was.
That's wild. No one knew where it was, but it's funny that, like, I like the players pointing it out. That's pretty hilarious. So I don't think I've ever seen it get caught there before, to be totally honest. I didn't know that was a thing. But Anna, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, I'm now that I'm seeing it from this angle, that is just like, what are the chances? But good, good to see Radish up there. He's another one that kind of went a little crickets there for a while. But I will say I'm a big supporter and pulling for to see more of Roy.
Yeah.
Oh, Roy had a hell of a game this game.
I know, and that's why I think he's got a shit ton of potential, and I want to hear his name more. But I think this is just a good, maybe a little taste of good things to come.
For sure. All right. With that being, I'll get Janae's thoughts on this one.
Oh, well, I mean, I knew it went in, to be honest. I screamed as soon as I saw it go in, so I knew it was in. I just didn't know where the puck went, but I knew that it went in. And I think Hellebuck knew too. Like, he was kind of trying to play coy, but like, when you're the goalie, you kind of know if it hit you or not, So I could kind of tell by his reaction too that he knew it got past him, even though he was kind of trying to pretend like that he might have it. But yeah, great goal again. Just shoot the puck and crash the net, right? Like that's what they've been doing all season long. They've been doing it really well. They're the biggest team in the National Hockey League, and they use it to their advantage. Like, just crash the net. Lots of teams don't do that enough, and we definitely did not do that enough last season. So it's great to see them finally like using their size and going to the net and going to the net hard.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so and Winnipeg scores again, so then we have to play catch up once again. This time we get Tom Wilson with his 21st of the season, and I'll let Gil take it from there.
Yeah, epitome of the gritty goal here. Roy, guess who, starts the play again, puts it in the corner. Wilson rounds it out to Strome, who charges the net, and Wilson does Tom Wilson things, has the hands to put it in. And because, Anna, you missed it last week, I put it back in here. We had the 20-goal celebration with the fireworks. I put it back in for this goal.
I love it.
So you wouldn't miss it.
That's very nice of you. Anna, what are your thoughts on your favorite player?
That's it. Just Tom Wilson. That's all I have to say. Fireworks, it's like what's shooting out of my eyes every time. Yes. But you know what? After the fuck ups from earlier, when he kind of lost his cool a little bit in the earlier in the week. This is the Tom Wilson that we know and love, and going to continue seeing him being the badass that he is.
Yeah, I agree. Janae, what are your thoughts on Tom Wilson?
Oh my God, that when he lost his cool earlier in the week, though, that gave us the best content of all time. That was hilarious. It was so funny. I was hearing from, I guess, people down in the States saying that, like, I guess the Monumental feed wasn't like showing you guys all of that, but the Sportsnet camera was showing all of it to us up here, and it was so funny. I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, like all of his.
I actually haven't seen it because I got the.
Oh my God, it was funny, Robbie. He's like he was yelling at Anderson that he has a bobblehead, and then he's showing him like all the ways that he has a bobblehead. So he put his helmet like up high on his head, and he's like, ooh, ooh. Just like looking over at Anderson with it. And then of course, like he gets the last laugh when Protas gets the shorthanded goal, or what was almost a shorthanded goal as the penalty expired. So, and he was definitely letting Anderson know about it. But yeah, no, great stuff from Tom Wilson, getting another goal here. Like 20-goal Tommy, what can you say? He's going to blow past his career high this season, I think.
Absolutely.
Assuming that he stays healthy, knock on wood. But yeah, he's having an amazing season. Should have been picked for Team Canada, in my opinion. I think we need a player like that to counter the Tkachuk brothers, but that's a whole other conversation. But I'm kind of glad, to be honest, that none of the Capitals are going to that tournament, because then there's no risk of injury and they'll just get rest. So I'm kind of happy for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I am too. I definitely agree. Let's get into the last goal, the Ovi goal here, and Gil, why don't you break this one down?
Okay, so Ovi hands it off to Chychrun, who hands it off to Strome here, over to Roy, tap to Wilson. He's the one that holds and sees Ovechkin gaining the zone, and he just does Ovi things with it. And this thing, I don't think Hellebuck had a chance at this one. It wasn't from the circle, but it might as well have been. This was just, what else can you say? It was a beauty.
I like the new graphic here. People
don't encourage Robbie. Come on.
I mean, I'm a film teacher. I always encourage some good athletes. So for a good goal, call 1877 Ovi. So I appreciate that. I'm going to let Anna give her first thoughts, and then I know that she's got a big day tomorrow, so I'm going to let her go, and then Gil, Janae, and I can talk about the upcoming week after this. But Anna, give your thoughts on this goal, and
I have a super obnoxious parent conference tomorrow morning. It's just bright and early. It's not great. Again, who can't love it to watch this and his excitement, and I think the fact that he is as excited every time he scores as we all are, which is great, and so are his teammates. And again, Roy, love seeing his name as right there with Wilson. I love it. So hopefully many more times we will see this little trifecta going on, and I love it. And I'm hoping I know there's who's coming up in the next, is it Florida?
Florida's the next game on Tuesday, then it's Philly on Thursday.
Okay. Well, I know you guys will be amazing and cover that as I go sleep and get ready for this early morning meeting.
Yes,
why they pay me the big bucks.
We appreciate your timing as always. And next week we will recap the Florida, the Philly, and the Sunday Utah game, which is a 12:30 game that I really wanted to go to. But I don't think it's going to be in the cards. It's the Super Bowl matinee that they always do before the Super Bowl, but just too many things going on next week between the Super Bowl and I'm going skiing on Saturday, and just scared them to get too tired to try to get up early for the game. But my wife said that she's already going to take the kids out so I can at least watch the game live.
There you go.
Interrupted. So that's like the second best thing, is to wake up and watch it at home, right? So I did really want to go to a game this season. I don't know if it's going to be in the cards, but yeah, it was. Thank you, Anna, for coming on, and we'll definitely.
Of course, thanks for having me
next week. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Bye, Janaea. We will talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Yes. Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah. So excited. I gotta get all my negativity and cuss words out now, so I don't do that in the meeting.
There you go.
All right,
Meditate.
thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good night.
Anna.
Bye.
Bye.
So, Gil, we talked about it. We didn't end up winning this game, but it seemed like a really fun game to go to. What were some of your thoughts overall about being there?
Well, okay, so I got to be honest. The 2-0 lead, it wasn't like in seasons past where the life was sucked out of the building and it was just dead quiet. There was still a nice buzz there because with this team, you got a chance for them to come back. So it was like everybody was kind of waiting for that, and thankfully we got rewarded. But it got really quiet after that second goal, and I don't know. Nobody was sure in that building that they were going to come back, but it was nice to see it. And then when Ovi scored, oh my God, the place just went absolutely electric. I mentioned it on the podcast. It's great seeing it on TV. It is another thing entirely to see him score live. There is nothing like it, and it's like, I don't know. I guess the only thing I can compare it to is if you were alive at the same time Leonardo da Vinci was painting one of his paintings and you watched him get to paint it. That's the only thing I can think of. Seeing the same thing, being that close to greatness, being that physically close to greatness, and actually watching it. The place was just absolutely wild and nuts after that. And if it was something you could bottle up and drink and sell, everybody would have grabbed it.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with their ability to put a bad period behind them, or just be able to maybe not even put that many shots on the board. There are times where I'm like, man, I wish they would shoot more, but like they're able to somehow produce with the shots that they're putting out there. And let me see if I can stop the share real quickly. I'm going to just go to our main scene. And I'm just proud of them for being able to fight through adversity. And this is exactly what you want for a team. It reminds me a ton, and we know we talked about this last week, but I didn't want to talk about it with Janaea. So with the Commanders and the fact that going through adversity during the season is what you need. You don't necessarily need to be the top team coming out of the regular season. You just need to have gone through a lot of different scenarios, and then you can use that knowledge to your advantage when you get to the playoffs. The playoffs is obviously a different animal. It's not, the goal scoring is going to dry up. So being able to play in these close, tight-knit games where there's less shots and less goals is important. It's not going to be a 5-4 game every night in the playoffs. So winning 2-1 is something you kind of have to do, and what we did in that run in 2018. So I see a ton of parallels, and maybe it's just me wanting to see the parallels, but I see them between the 2018 and this one, with one goalie who is necessarily maybe the starter at the beginning of the season, we think, struggling, but who knows? We may still need Charlie Lindgren, before this whole thing is done, right? But I'm so excited. We finally got Logan. We got him signed. We talked about this last time we had you on, Janaea, about like how quickly can we get this guy signed. Now we have him signed. And we've signed almost everybody that I feel like we need to. There's a couple of moves that still need to be made. There's actually the Capitals have put in some questions to the league about what the salary cap is going to be for next year because they want to obviously be within that. I'd be curious to see if they can get an answer from the league for that.
Oh, I can tell you what it's going to be.
They did already, actually.
Yeah.
It's going up a lot more than they initially thought, so that's good news for keeping Chychrun.
Yes.
Yeah, so for 2025-26, and this is according to both the NHLPA and the league, for 25-26, the upper limit of the cap is going to be $95.5 million. The floor is $70.6 million. For the year after that, the upper limit is going to be $104 million, even. $76.9 for the floor, and for 27-28, the upper limit is going to go all the way up to $113.5 million. If you can believe that.
So it's basically going up between $7.5 to $9.5 million every year for the next 3 years.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Pretty much.
I'm happy to see that means that hockey, the ratings are coming back. Because it's the only way that happens is if people are watching the sport, because it's very dependent.
Exactly.
On that.
Exactly. It's based on the revenue, which comes from who? Us.
Right. So people are coming to the games and they're watching on TV. It's a combination of both of those, metrics. Just how much more is it this year, next year from this year? That's the part that I am trying to remember. Do you know?
Seven and a half more. So
Yeah,
95 from 88.
Janaea nailed it. It's like 88 something. I think it's 88 even this year, and next year it's going to be 95.5, so 7.5.
Nice.
And they're, to be honest, like they're in a really good salary cap situation because they have like big deals coming off the books. They have guys who are now like they've become pretty much elite players like Protus locked in at like ridiculously low cap hits. They got a really good deal on Thompson. They got a really good deal on a number of other guys. Like they're in a really, really good spot. There was a TSN was doing a breakdown the other day of like the teams that are the best set up right now for long-term success based on like the players that they already have locked up long-term, how much cap space they have, and then their prospect pool as well. And the Caps were top 3, like they were number 2. So like they're set up.
Who was number 1?
Really,
Just curious.
I think number 1 was, I think it was Montreal, I believe. Yeah.
Interesting.
Montreal's a really good prospect pool, but they're not so great right now. They're getting better though, but
Yeah.
They were looking at like long-term, like who's set up for like long-term success. So It's kind of great for us that we're set up for long-term success and we're number 1 in the league right now. Like I'll take that.
Yeah, for sure. Because people thought it was going to be a long rebuild, and in fact, it's been pretty quick. And I would argue, I wish that we got Carberry a year or 2 earlier because we could have maybe not had those down years. So I look at the Rangers and their situation, and it's pretty crazy to see. We could have been there if we had kept that coach too much longer. So I'm happy that we kicked him to the curb.
Would have been trading Protus and McMichael.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. So,
and for me, I should correct myself because some of my family members are Jets fans. We're not number 1 in the league now. We're number 1 in the East. Sorry.
Right. That's fine. That's fine. I like that. I like that. They can have it. So
yeah, I want to say that way.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do a quick look ahead, and then we're going to switch gears to a couple other sports. I appreciate everyone for being with us and being understanding that we're running a little bit late, and I'm sorry for the audio issues at the beginning. We got Florida at 7 on tomorrow, Tuesday. We're at Philly for the shortest of road trips, just Thursday at 7. Then we're back home for the Utah game at 12:30, that matinee. And I'm just going to go back and forth. So I'm going to have Gil do the Florida and Utah game. I'm going to have Janaea talk about the Philly game just for timing purposes. So Gil, I'll start with you on the Florida game. What are your thoughts on playing them tomorrow?
So Florida took a step back. They lost some key free agents, but they're still the defending Cup champions. They still have their core, so very dangerous team. I still think they match up very well against them. It's going to be a very interesting game. This could go the same way the Jets game did. It'll either be a 2-1, 3-2 game, or it'll be a shootout. It could go either way. I don't think there's going to be a middle ground, but it's going to be a fun game to watch. Yet another litmus test for this team. I think the key here will be the power play. I like Protus's big body on, even if it's the second unit. I like him there. If they can make the most of their chances with him, or somebody steps up and make sure the power play does its job, I think they got a good chance of winning this game.
For sure. All right, Janae, I'm going to give you the Philly game. So they're playing the team that is in the Super Bowl in their football. So you know that the whole city is all charged up for sports. What are your thoughts on playing Philadelphia?
Well, they might be charged up for football, but I don't think they're too charged up for their hockey team right now. They're not doing so hot. I know a lot of Flyers fans were expecting them to take a step forward this season. They've kind of taken a step back a little bit. They just made a really confusing trade. They traded a couple of young, really good players, Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost, to Calgary. I think that's a great trade for Calgary. They got back Kuzmenko and I think it was Pelche. So kind of, Kuzmenko's older and Peltier not really on the same level as the two guys that they traded out. So I'm happy to see those two guys go. I feel like Farabee especially is always a pain in our ass. So good riddance. But yeah, I just think the Caps should have obviously a really good chance to win that game. Even being that one's on the road, I think, right? That's
yes.
Even being that it's in Philly, they should still have a really good chance as long as they play their game. They should be able to kind of take over that one because Philly's just not trying to disrespect them. They're not in the same spot. They're not a very good team. They're not like that far along in their plan, I guess is what I'm trying to say, their rebuild or whatever they're trying to do there. So I do think there's a couple of guys that you have to kind of contain if you want to win the game. Mishkov obviously being one of them. He is especially dangerous on the power play. He doesn't really do anything at even strength, but definitely on the power play, you've got to keep an eye out for him. And then the big key with the Flyers the last couple of years at least has been when you're on your own power play, do not give them shorthanded goals because they score a lot of them. So the Caps have to be aware of that. They spring guys shorthanded all the time, lots of shorthanded breakaways and chances. So I do want to see the Caps clean up their own power play a lot because they've given up a couple of shorthanded goals against recently and a couple of shorthanded penalty shots against because they're giving up breakaways. So I definitely want to see them clean that up and just shoot the puck because the Flyers goaltending is not great. So lots of pucks to the net, try to get, an ample amount of goals. And I'm not sure I guess if they're sticking with the alternating thing, it'll be Lindgren next game and then Thompson and Philly probably, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do with the goalie split this week. All right, Gil, Utah, 12:30 matinee Super Bowl game. I know we don't always do great with these daytime games, and what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, yet another fun Sunday afternoon game. This one practically forcing everybody get up out of bed in the morning to get ready for. I never know what to make with this team, with this Utah team. You can't write them off, but then again, you look at the standings. They're not even in a playoff spot. They're within range of a playoff spot, but I guess everybody was hoping they'd do better. But at the same time, you can't really play down to them either because they're capable of stealing games. So as long as they don't show up doing that, I think that I'm not going to say this isn't going to be an easy 2 points, but they've got a pretty good chance of winning this game and getting the 2 points. So long as they're ready to play and don't play down to this team, I think that's going to be the key here.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let Janaea give her thoughts on this Utah team as well.
Yeah, I think they're a team that, like, if you're not awake for the game, they can score some goals and surprise you. They've got a couple of really good players. Clayton Keller. Actually, Logan Cooley, I think, is out now, I believe, with an injury. So that helps the Caps' cause for sure. But yeah, I want to see the Caps be awake for the game. They're kind of notorious for having the slow starts with the early games. A lot of crying going on over there, though, from you guys for a 12:30 p.m. start. It starts at 9:30 in the morning here. It's way worse for me.
That's true.
So it's going to be the reverse of last week. You guys are going to have to get up early. We had to stay up late.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, the games, when they're out here, they start at like 10 p.m. for you guys. So finish around 1 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah. So just like Gil said, just basically don't beat yourselves. That's what I want to see from them on Sunday, because as long as they play their game, it should be a victory. But it's kind of when they get into trouble is when they're not awake for these early games. They have a crappy first period. They get behind. And Utah does have like pretty good goaltending. So you don't really want to be trying to come back all the time as well.
Yeah. I want to talk about two things that are not related to the Caps, but related to them on the periphery before we get out of here. First, I'm going to do my West command. And I have not updated this command from last week, but we did, we're trying to generate views for this GoFundMe. So last week we talked about Wes was found in the hospital. He was not responsive. They quickly got him to the ICU. Things were not looking good, last Monday. But he was able to make a recovery, wake up from the coma. And I'm really proud of Caps fans and fans of he does a lot of voice acting as well. So Wes Johnson's the Capitals announcer and arena announcer for 25 years. Half of the time the Caps have been around, and so they're trying them along with the video game community, because he does a lot of voice acting for Bethesda Softworks and other companies and stuff like that. They were able to raise $181,000 for him, including Ted Leonsis being the top donor at $25,000. I hated that some people were like, "Oh, it should be more. He's a millionaire." I was like, first of all, that's kind of the limit that you're allowed to give in this country without it being like super taxed. And who's to say that he isn't giving more behind the scenes that's not in a public GoFundMe? So anyway, I applaud him for doing it, as people should, and not try to be like, "Oh, it's not enough." And I'm so
People need
happy.
to realize, like you said, not everybody donates in public just to get like clout,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm the most important thing is I'm so happy he's doing better and he's home. And so it was a very scary time. He actually did an appearance on Elliot in the Morning this morning, which I missed, but I have bookmarked that I want to check out. I have some friends that actually called in after that segment as well as part of that segment. So I just want to check that out. Friends of the show. And so yeah, super happy for him. On the flip side, we got Locker going into heart surgery tomorrow. So best wishes to him and his family for that. And I know it's been planned for a couple of months now, but obviously open heart surgery is always difficult and is a thing. And so we just wanted to wish them well. And so yeah, it's been an interesting year for Voices of the Capitals. And so hopefully they get on the mend soon so they can be a part of this Ovechkin, history making, hopefully at the end of the season here. And so best wishes to both of them to continue on the healthy recovery there. So I just wanted to give that update because we did talk about it last week. And Wes actually does our show opening if people listening to the audio podcast of this show. So always been a great supporter of us and our show. And so I'm just so happy that the world could be supportive of him as well. And of Locker, of course. He is beloved and been the only announcer I've ever known for color commentary for the Capitals. And I started following the team right around, when he started as a little kid, right? So just some amazing stuff by him. Gil, I'll let you give your final thoughts, and then I'll give Janae her final thoughts, and then we'll get out of here.
Last week before the break, I kind of hope they go out on a high, but I hope they use the time to heal some bumps and bruises. But, they're doing some things that can be and are very frustrating, but I'm sure they're aware. I'm sure they're working on it. I'm exceedingly proud of this team. I think they're just about a lock to make the playoffs. So I want to see him go on a high to the break, and I think more importantly, just come out of the break well rested, grab some wins, and then they can kind of figure out what they're doing with the roster and the playoffs and all that after that.
Yeah. I want to thank everyone who just rated into our show on Twitch. If people don't know, if they're watching on other things, raid is when an audience is brought in from another show and brought into ours. And our good friend Champ, who's actually going to be on this next segment, was on The Sandwich Show, which is one of my favorite shows on Twitch. So they had a great spot for a little over 2 hours over there. So definitely go check out the VOD. Davey is in chat along with Champ and that E-Flat guy. And also King Damebreaker, Stewart, and Smarticus is also in chat as well. So welcome, everybody. We're just finishing up our Caps talk, and then we're going to switch into a Super Bowl preview, some NBA news, and then we're going to end with some wrestling talk in just a second there. But thank you guys all for tuning in and being a part of the show. Hopefully you guys had a great show over on The Sandwich Show. And with that, Janaea, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Just agree with what Gil said. Like, I hope that they can go into the break on a bit of a high here, at least like make that Super Bowl Sunday game fun for fans at home. Hoping for that. I know Ovechkin usually scores on Super Bowl Sundays, so hopefully we can get a goal or two there. But yeah, just most important thing for me is like I just want them to get some rest, heal any bumps or bruises that they might have. I know Carberry said a few times like they've got a few things injury wise going on, like guys are playing through a couple things. So it'd be nice for them to get some rest, hopefully, and just take it easy and come back even stronger. I think Gil's absolutely right. Like I think they are pretty much in the playoffs at this point, but at the same time, I still want to see them like not kill themselves to get as many points as possible and try for the President's Trophy and all that. But you want them to kind of keep winning enough games that they're still feeling good and kind of on a hot streak going into the playoffs. You don't want them to be going in totally cold. So I'd like to see them pick it up right where they've left off after the break. It's going to be interesting at the trade deadline for sure. There's a number of quite interesting names being rumored for them. So we'll see what happens there. But most important thing is just get some rest, come back even stronger and hopefully keep on this roll all the way to the playoffs. Now, can you guys, before we go, can somebody explain to me in hockey terms, the Luka Doncic to the Lakers thing. Like
yes.
Somebody said this is like if the Avalanche traded like Nathan McKinnon to the Caps to help Ovi get another cup.
Yeah. Well, it's a really interesting thing, and in fact, actually, it's one of the topics we're going to open with Arun and Tim, and so it's hard to find an equivalent in hockey. But so the thing is, Luka has so much potential for the future, right? He's like, one of the future greats of the sport, and is already great. Where Anthony, Daniel, AD has been so great, and he's such a cornerstone piece, and he's such a big guy. I guess it would be more like, trying to think. It'd almost be like if a big defender and a young forward were to get traded, right? So like the big defender is going to help them in the short term, right? Just sort of shore up the defense and rebounding. But you're giving up the potential future great, right? So it's I think that's kind of a good way to look at it more is like, because they kind of play two very different roles. I mean, they're both scorers, obviously, but one is much more defensive minded. That's actually been Luka's big sort of knock on him, if you will. Sometimes his defense isn't great. But he's just such a prolific scorer that it's just such a questionable move for their future. So I don't really know
if you're going to equate it to hockey terms, highest champ, Janaea, imagine if the Caps traded a young Peter Bondra to the Detroit Red Wings for Steve Yzerman.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because I kind of like, I'm not like super following basketball, but like I know enough that like I turned it on and saw it on SportsCenter and I was like, huh? Like I thought it was fake, like the trade. So I don't know, it was shocking.
Yeah, so Davey in chat says when AD is healthy, of course, for the 27 games a year. Right, so that's the problem is like he is a difference maker, but he can't stay healthy, right? So like that's just a big question mark. But if he can, I mean, Dallas is stacked around him. Like I think it's a very much a win now or win in the next 2 seasons kind of situation, where. And in some ways, the reverse is true. They're trying to see if Luka can, with LeBron on the other side, can win a championship. So it's going to be really interesting playoffs, especially if those two teams play against each other. It's going to be interesting for sure. David says, I think that the Mavs did a horrible job with this trade, and they initiated it. It's true that we both kind of agree that they could have gotten a lot more.
That's the part that seemed kind of weird to me was that like if you're gonna trade a guy like Luka Doncic, like don't you like shop him around and like let everybody know that he's available and try to get as much as you possibly can? Like that's the part that I didn't really understand. Like I'm like, is it that different from hockey that you don't do that? Or I don't know, it's weird.
Well, I mean, contracts are just very differently structured in the NBA. Like the NHL, you just can't get out of them, right? With the NBA, you can. So I mean, you could take a bit of a hit, but like it's not the same. Like especially not the same as like NFL where the cap lingers and stuff like that. Like you could cut people in a very different way, and people could go in other teams. It's especially because there's like what teams have no trade clauses and stuff like that. Where like in hockey, you're basically locked into whatever contract you're agreeing to, unless the trade happens. So in some ways, it's very different. Davey says Mavs didn't even try to approach other teams, and the Mavs are just extra stupid in this case. They barely got back anything in return for what they should have got. And then Gil wrote that it's like prime Joe Thornton move for a 30-year-old Victor Hedman in a third year. What is it, Cicerelli in a first?
Sorelli.
Sorelli in a first. So.
Well, that's fucking terrible. So.
Exactly.
That's actually a quote. That's actually a quote I copied from a friend of a friend I know on Twitter who asked the very same question. So
yeah, there you go. All right, so there you go. It's a good segue to our NBA talk. So I appreciate it, Janaea, and it's we'll continue to. I'll ask Tim and Arun their thoughts in just a second here. But thank you both, Janaea and Gil. I know that we went over by a lot, but I really appreciate you guys for joining.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah. All right. With that, we're going to bring in Tim and Arun. We're going to switch. We're actually going to put up our NBA graphic, something I never put up. But I am going to do the Gil command and the Janaea command as well. So if you guys don't follow their shows, definitely make sure that you do. And with that, we're going to bring in Tim, Arun, and Champ. I'll bring Champ in first since he just rated in. Champ, how was the sandwich show?
It was a lot of fun. Like Davey's got a lot of gimmicks to his show that is making me is really making me wonder. Oh, no wonder only 2 people listen to my show. I don't have gimmicks like someone redeeming something called Velveeta, and he pulls out a cup of Velveeta cheese with the horns going off, and then having random questions and him doing video game noises and all this other stuff. I'm like, damn, maybe I need gimmicks like that. But it was a lot of fun. We talked about wrestling. We talked about the Royal Rumble. We talked about the Commanders. We talked about favorite foods and all this other stuff. We even talked about video games and stuff like that. Matter of fact, Robbie, I told Davey I was going to do this. Duck Hunt. Did you play Duck Hunt as a child? Yes,
I did. I did play Duck Hunt.
Okay. I'm going to ask all 3 of y'all this question before we get into NBA talk. Mm-hmm. When you played Duck Hunt and you missed the ducks and the dog came up laughing at you, did you try to shoot the dog? You say no, you're lying.
No, I definitely tried to shoot the dog.
Yeah, of course I did. That was the best part.
Yeah.
What about you,
Arun? Arun with the Duck Hunt gun. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That's pretty amazing.
Brother.
Was that in the same room? Did you even have to get up to get that, or was it just right next to you?
Wait, Arun,
you're muted. You're muted, bro.
I missed the question, but yeah, it's in the same room.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, you guys had a lot of fun. I'm happy that I was able to be there for the lineup while I was having technical difficulties on my end. And so everyone who was late to the show, skip the first 10 minutes because we had some audio difficulties. But luckily, chat was able to help me get it all sorted out. With that, Arun with the Duck Hunt gun, I'll let you go next. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I was a little bit depressed after last week's loss. I watched the Joker 2 movie. Wasn't as bad as everyone said because I also slept during the movie, so maybe that played a factor. But yeah,
I want to see that movie, but I don't know. It did not get the reviews, and they kind of doubled down on things that people didn't like in the first one. So it'll be interesting.
It wasn't great, but it was like I went to sleep during 40 minutes, but the ending wasn't terrible.
Maybe save yourself, don't do it. All right,
don't do it.
Right.
Just expect really, really low expectation. You'll be like, it wasn't the worst movie ever, but it could have been. I didn't stay awake during the whole movie.
Right, I know. I've now fallen asleep twice during the Barbie, which my wife is still trying to convince me is a good movie, but I can't stay awake for it. So I can understand that. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm enjoying the Wizards' win streak that I did not expect. So happy to talk over that. I'm also happy that the Wizards are still the worst team in the NBA, so we can get Cooper Flag. That's my goal right now.
Yes. So let's talk about it because they won tonight, 124-114. I have to.
How do you only get double-digit wins just now, and it's almost the All-Star break? Someone explain that to me.
Yeah, it's pretty. We're not even. It's only 8. That's 8th win.
They're doing it on purpose. The Cooper planted the flag.
The tank is successful so far. Unlike most years, we're like second worst, third worst.
We have a quarter of our wins in the last 2 days. Just throwing that out there as a statistic. So on Saturday we did beat Minnesota 105-103 on the road, and we continued a road winning streak. We had lost, I believe, 15 road games in a row or something. We
started out 1-21 on the road.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
And now we beat Charlotte 124-114 tonight. I honestly assumed after the win last one that we wouldn't win this one. I was watching Raw, so I didn't actually watch this game, but I did promise if we'd go on a win streak that we would talk about the Wizards. So we will briefly talk about both of these games. The first one at Minnesota, the Wizards outscored them by 1 in the first. They both scored 31 points in the second. The Wizards outscored them 25-20 in the third. Minnesota did try to come back, outscored them 26-22, and the Wizards were able to escape with a 105 victory. Kyle Kuzma with 31 points in this one. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this win? The first one in a long time. In fact, we only won that one game in January before this.
Well, we actually don't really need to talk about either of these games because the Timberwolves didn't have they didn't have Randall, Anthony Edwards, or Dante DiVincenzo, and the Hornets game they did not have Ball, like who is arguably an all-star player. So this is like they're just beating teams that the Wizards are still a really bad team, and the Timberwolves had a home winning streak coming into this game. I think it was double digits, but they ended. And yeah, the Wizards are just really. Kuzma had a great game, but he's also trying to get traded by this trade deadline as well.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is just kind of crazy. Yeah, so we did win the second one, the Charlotte game. Took a 2-point lead after the first, outscored them 46-25 in the second, which is just wild to me. And then in the third, Charlotte came back. They outscored them 34-20 in the third, and the Wizards outscored 27-26 for that 10-point victory, 124-114. Bial Coulibaly did score 26 points. Kisper at 25 off the bench on 5 3-pointers. They play the next game in Brooklyn at 7:30 on Wednesday. Then on Friday at home against Cleveland at 7, and then playing Atlanta also at home at 7. And then next Monday they continue that home series, San Antonio at 7. So playing a lot of games in the next couple of days here. We'll see how that ends up for them. Tim, do you have any other thoughts on the week that was for the Wizards?
I just think partially, like Arun said, we came up against two really weak opponents with their best players out. Also, I think Kuzma definitely is trying to show out and get traded because he's not really enjoying this rebuild, because he still can score if he's given the opportunity and the shots. And then the other thing is, yes, they won 2 games in a row, but the 3 games before they got absolutely blown out, especially the Lakers game. So I think the coach Keefe probably really got into them in practice and motivated them because they basically were just getting embarrassed the few games before. So I'm glad they bounced back.
Yeah, Davey and I were actually talking about the Lakers game as I was watching it, and he's like, he turned it off pretty quickly, which I thought was pretty funny. So it's an interesting time to be a Wizards fan for sure. But I am kind of shocked, though, in some ways that, I don't know. I thought LaMelo Ball was going to be okay, but I didn't expect him to be an all-star. I thought it was all like fake smoke and mirrors with his dad pushing him and all that sort of stuff. I just didn't expect that. What are some of your thoughts on that?
He didn't make the all-star team, but he is averaging 28 points a game and 5 rebounds and 7 assists. But I guess everyone's considering him an all-star snub, which is fine. He has had a good season, but his brother was disappointing, so I could definitely understand why you felt that he wouldn't be an all-star like coming into the league.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that the whole thing was all manufactured and that they would just be total busts in the NBA, to be totally honest. But good for him, to make the most of an opportunity.
He's not a Bronny completely, but I feel like that kind of hurts him now because it's not a nepotism story, but it's a little bit of a nepotism story with the Ball family because I feel like his brothers obviously kind of rode off of his coattails some and got like opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have had. And again, I mean, his dad's annoying, but he knew how to market them, so he did something right.
For sure. Champ, any thoughts on the Wizards at all, or any of the things?
What else can I say about this team? They're complete ass. The fact that they don't even have 10 wins and we're closing on the All-Star game is absolutely pathetic. Yeah, tank for nothing. I mean, what in the heck are we doing around here, man? It's just crazy to me to think that this is the team that just about a decade ago, when you had Agent Zero in here and all these other good players and they were making the playoffs and they were actually competitive, to go from that to this it's truly sad. And it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you think of how bad it's gotten so far for this team. But hopefully there is a light at the end of the tunnel and we're able to see it and we're able to finally get some, see this team be competitive. On the other subject of the Ball brothers, it's crazy to me that the older Ball brother was the one that got the most hype coming out of school, yet he ain't done much of anything, whereas Melo has been the one that's been performing consistently well since coming into the league and has made more of a name for himself than anything. So I find that to be pretty shocking, in my opinion, because of the fact that, the big brother was the one that got all the hype, but the big brother's not who everybody's talking about when they talk about the Ball family.
Yeah, I'm looking at his season stats right now. 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists.
He was coming off an injury, though. He's been out of the league for 2 years, I want to say. So I think he was doing okay, and I think he was kind of going to live up to his contract in the first year, but then he got injured, so not really going to hold it against him. He definitely is not living up to the hype. But they're both number 2 picks. Granted, LaMelo Ball was the number 2 pick in the COVID year in 2020, and it was hard to scout him. And I think he would have been he's the number 3 pick. Sorry, and the Warriors took Wiseman over him, and I think if it wasn't a non-COVID year, he would have probably been taken number 2 over James Wiseman, but they didn't really have any scouting back then, and Wiseman is a complete bust, and he's probably going to be out of the league soon.
Yeah. So the topic was talked about at the very beginning, so I'm going to pose it to you guys as well. What are your reaction to this big trade? I'm going to start off with Arun.
I was shocked when the trade happened. It had already been, I think, a couple hours. I didn't get like the immediate notification where people just thought Charnia was hacked, but I did get an email from The Athletic that Luka Doncic was traded, and it's the first trade in NBA history where 2 All-NBA players were traded for one another. Granted, Luka's was the first team All-NBA player, and Anthony Davis was either second or third team. But this was a completely shocking trade. I just felt like the Lakers, even though like Anthony Davis is a great player, just feels like it was a big robbery by the Lakers. Granted, maybe the Mavericks know something about Luka's habits. Maybe he's doing something that we're not aware of, but it just felt like the Paul Gasol trade all over again, where the Lakers just completely hit a home run in this trade. And Luka was the preseason player to win MVP coming into the season, given that he took the Mavericks to the finals. He's been out for a lot of games this season. Kyrie's been playing admirably, and they did acquire Klay Thompson. So it just feels like the Mavericks are trying to just build a team with a bunch of like number 2s and great defense. And maybe they'll prove us all wrong, but it just feels like a loss for the Mavs and a home run for the Lakers. Maybe in the short term, they could beat the Mavericks in the postseason. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see the Lakers suit up with this new team.
Yeah. When is the first game he's supposed to play with them? Do we know?
I know they're playing tomorrow, but I don't know if he's playing.
Yeah, Luka's hurt though. I think they're both hurt still. So Luka's back like later this month, and I think AD is like a couple weeks as well.
Interesting. Tim, what was your reaction to this trade?
Well, a couple things. I mean, I agree that the Lakers won. A couple factors though that I think a lot of people aren't talking about. The first is Mark Cuban is still technically an owner of the Mavs, but late last year, I guess he gave up day-to-day running of the team. So he is kind of getting blamed for this, but I feel like if Mark Cuban was still making decisions, probably this trade isn't happening. I mean, like Dirk Nowitzki is their franchise cornerstone, and immediately Nowitzki hated the trade. So I think if Cuban's still in charge, he's probably not allowing that to happen. The second thing is the GM of the Lakers, Pelinka, and the GM of the Mavs are really good friends because they actually work together in LA and were kind of part of Kobe's entourage. And the reason why they decided to do this trade so secretly is they have a great friendship. And that gave the Lakers a huge advantage because Dallas knew if they were going to make this trade, it had to be completely airtight. Because if it came out at all, obviously the fan base would just rebel. So they had to do it secretly, which meant they could not shop him. They could not offer him to the whole league. And that meant they're going to get a bad deal because they have to go to one team and get it done. And the Lakers took advantage of that old friendship, going back to the Kobe days, and apparently just met at a coffee shop in Dallas during like around a game and got it done, and nobody knew. So I guess like in any job, it's who you know, not what you know. Because the Lakers GM Pelinka got lucky, really. But I think that's an issue in the NBA because the players have so much power. Like, look at Jimmy Butler, right? If you want to get traded in the NBA and it becomes public, that's when your agent gets to control like where you go, gets to basically veto teams where you're not happy. Like Jimmy Butler, I guess even today has been vetoing a trade to the Warriors, for example. And because it's so public and there's a big fight, it gives the Heat like huge problems because now they don't really have leverage. So I guess long story short, I understand why Dallas did it secretly and just went to one team and got it done. Um, I do think they lost the trade because I think they might be really good this year and possibly make a run because their defense is now great. But I just think, like you guys said, in 5 to 10 year window, probably the Lakers win because Luka's a top 5 player right now. Last thing too, I just feel like AD is kind of getting disrespected too. I know he's older, but he's still like a top 5 big man in the NBA, probably top. I mean, really good. So, and I think Dallas. Yeah, and also I don't remember his name. I think Christie, but the guard that Dallas got is pretty good too in the trade. So,
I love this stat that I saw. It's obviously a joke, but Luka Doncic was exactly 300 points shy of Michael Finley's standing of 12,389 franchise points for the Mavs. Finley is the assistant GM for the Mavs. So he trades them before he tops them. And I thought that was kind of a...
That's petty. That's petty.
Champ, any more thoughts on this?
Right. So, okay. So Dallas, the Cowboys, they go and they hire an unproven, unsuccessful OC as their head coach. Mavs, hold our beer. And they trade away their franchise player in Luka Doncic. I don't know what in the hell's going on down there in Dallas. But this is, I mean, here's the thing. Tim alluded to it and Arun confirmed it. AD is one of the top big men in the NBA. The problem is that Bama can't stay on the court longer than 20 games. That's the problem. he can't stay healthy. Whereas you have Luka, who's been a very consistent player for your franchise since y'all got him. And then y'all go and y'all make this move here and y'all let go of your consistent piece for an inconsistent piece. Like, who wins? Clearly, it's going to be the Lakers, because once Luka is healthy, they're going to help put them in a position to once again compete, most likely for a championship. And I think that it's just I don't know what's going on, what's in the water in Dallas. I don't know. I'm really confused. This is a very confusing trade, and this is very confusing times.
It's be interesting to see Daniel Gafford and Anthony Davis potentially one playing the 5 and the other playing the 4 in certain circumstances, like because that they could be an interesting duo, which I never really thought about. But I don't know. Arun, what are your thoughts on those two playing together?
Yeah, Daniel Gafford from the Washington Wizards, and also coming up, Kyle Kuzma. Apparently, the Mavericks either offered 1 or 2 first-round picks for Kuzma, so this GM does not have a great track record necessarily, but he did build a team that got to the finals last year. But among his other weird moves, though, is letting Jalen Brunson go over $55 million over 4 years, and now like Brunson's like an All-NBA player. Traded Porzingis to us for Spencer Dinwiddie, who was good for them, and Davis Bertans, but that was also kind of an awful trade from a talent standpoint. So even if the Mavericks do well with this trade, the other teams do well as a result of them with these moves. So I think the Lakers will be fine with this trade. Like, even if the Mavericks are better in the short term, Luka's going to be great probably for them. Although Davis has played more games than Luka in the last 3 years, but it's still like Luka's 25 and Davis is 31, about to be 32, and it kind of feels like it. I kind of get, like, I think the Mavericks, they wanted Anthony Davis, so that's kind of why they kept it on the down low. But they still could have gotten another first round pick, gotten a pick swap. The fact that they didn't get more kind of tells you that either they didn't really value Luka that much, and I think they're kind of overestimating their window too, as far as winning a championship. Yeah, they could win a title, but there are like 8 other teams in the West that could win a title, and I don't think the Mavericks have put themselves in a position over those teams just yet.
Yeah, it's wild to me. First of all, that this happened, but it'd be really interesting to see, like, what does this mean for Bronny? Because I feel like there's no way this is going to severely hurt his minutes. I mean, I don't see how he's on the court with Luka and LeBron, and what I mean. I just don't see how that.
Well, he's not playing anyways. He's just a victory. He's a victory or trash time cigar anyways. He got MVP chance at Capital One though, Bronny. So, and he was ashamed of the MVP chance, but he was getting them from Wizards / mostly probably Laker fans at Capital One.
Right. I don't know. It's just the whole thing seems really interesting. It'll be interesting to see how these players mesh with their new teams. But I am going to switch gears because I did not expect to talk NBA for this long, but I'm happy to have our NBA roundtable actually be able to talk NBA for the first time in a very long time. So that's great. We are going to shift gears to the Super Bowl talk. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who you guys are supporting. I'm gonna go around the table and see who you guys think is gonna win and who do you want to win. And we'll start with that, and then we can break it down a little bit further from there. I will start and say this is very difficult to say on a Commanders podcast, but I am going to root for the Eagles because they are in the division, and it does, I think, affirm if our loss to them isn't as bad as it looks, and then maybe they are kind of our Penguins team, where if we beat them next year in the playoffs, we win it all. So that's my standing for it. My dad's always said you got to root for the teams in your division. It makes you look better. And so I'm going to go with that. And I also don't really want the three-peat, although I do really like the Kelsey podcast. I do listen to it every week. I am kind of a fan of his, but I can't go for the three-peat. So with that, I'm going to go around the circle and get everyone else's thoughts. I'm going to start off with Champ. Champ, who are you rooting for, and who do you think is going to win? By the way, I think Kansas City is going to win, for the record. But anyway.
All right. So I said this on the Sandwich Show because he asked me the same question. And he said, what world are we living in that we have to pick between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles? And I said, you're right. What a way to, he said, how are we living that we got to pick between the Chiefs and the Eagles? And I said, you're right. What a hell of a way to live, having to pick between one of those two teams, which is why I'm not rooting for either one of them. I'm going to be out Super Bowl Sunday in my little Toyota Camry doing Lyft, making money, and listening to the game on Sirius XM. But if I had to pick one, I'm picking the Chiefs, honestly. But I'm not rooting for either team.
That's fair. Who do you think's going to win?
The Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Tim, I'll go to you next. What are your thoughts?
Man, I kind of agree. I hate this matchup. I try to focus on the fact that one of their fan bases will be really sad. I mean, that's all I can really, muster for like something cheerful, but I think the Chiefs will win. By the way, guys, I don't know because the game's in New Orleans. Did you see the story about the Saints today and how they were helping like cover up sex abuse with the Catholic Church?
No.
Yep.
Anyway,
I saw that. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's what we doing?
Yeah, because the owner's like a big Catholic Church booster. Anyway, there's a big story. But yeah, it's like another shady part of the Super Bowl. I mean, the NFL is just shady. It's not like we're gonna stop watching, but yeah.
It's just getting more and more that I do feel like it's rigged, and I never wanted to be that guy. And it's just like it. How can a team win so many close games? Like the law of averages eventually.
Yeah, I mean it's already an NFL record or second most ever. So I still think though the Chiefs will win a close game. That's my prediction. Like 3 points, 6 points, something like that.
They'll probably be down at halftime to add to the drama, and they'll probably come back and win it at the end in the final drive or something.
Yeah. No, I agree because I felt like the two Super Bowl losses that San Francisco had against Kansas City were like identical games, kind of. Like it was like San Francisco should have won, had leads, blew it. I feel like this is going to be similar to 2 years ago too.
Yeah, for sure. Arun, who are you rooting for, and who do you think is going to win?
I guess I have Stockholm syndrome because now I've convinced myself that I don't mind if either team wins because I don't know any Chiefs fans. So if they win, I guess three-peat's kind of annoying when any team does it, but I've never really interacted with a Chiefs fan in the last 3 years, and I don't know many Taylor Swift fans either. So it'll just be like I'm in a bubble. And if the Eagles win, it'll just be funny to laugh at the Giants for letting Saquon Barkley go for $12 million a year. To put that in perspective, Terry McLaurin's making $28 million a year, something like that. So I don't know what the Giants were thinking, letting Saquon walk for that price and not just trading him before that if they were going to let him walk. So that's just an incompetent franchise, and it'd just be funny to laugh at them. So I'm fine with either. I'm fine with either, and I think the Chiefs will win, but I think it's going to be a good game. So we'll see what happens.
I told Davey earlier, I said if Saquon Barkley walks out of the Superdome with a Super Bowl ring and a Lombardi trophy, you're going to have to put every single Giants fan on suicide watch.
Yeah, it's brutal. Just get rid of the quarterback. There was nothing that we saw a year or two ago, or in the last 3 years, that would be like, Saquon's the one that you should let go, and you should keep the quarterback. I just don't functionally understand.
And then you end up releasing the quarterback anyway.
I know. It's just a nightmare for them, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny that you say that we don't know any Kansas City fans. There's someone lurking our stream right now, a good friend of the show, Willow Keys Piano, who's plays piano music out of Kansas City. And he's not a big sports guy, but he's a big supporter of the show, which I appreciate. But he is obviously rooting for Kansas City. So I do interact with some. But I have a lot of family that are Eagles fans. I obviously went to college in Philly as well. I know that you did too, Arun. And I found myself rooting for them over the Patriots in a very similar situation to this when we were in college. And so I find myself leaning towards the Eagles, though I won't be devastated if Kansas City wins. It'll just more reaffirm the fact that I feel like it's rigged, unless it's like such a blowout where it can't be or something. I don't know. It's going to be hard.
Hang on, Robbie. You're saying it's rigged. Commissioner Goodell came out today and said that's ridiculous.
Right. I'm sure he did.
And the NBA said, "Hold my beer. That our league's not rigged. I mean, our league's the most rigged. Let's do this Lakers trade."
Even baseball fired an umpire today for. I guess he didn't technically gamble on the games, but he had a friend gamble for him or something.
Or maybe that's the Terry Rozier. They'd had that trade because the Terry Rozier scandal came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just hard because I love talking about professional sports, but like with how significant gambling has become, it's definitely causing a lot of issues. And I know our friend Carol is like constantly throwing these like wagers on, like mid-game, like these like, I don't know, what you could wager on now is absolutely ridiculous.
That man does so many freaking parlays, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But if you know the league is rigged, you got to like, now that betting's allowed, you got to cash in. If you think the Chiefs are going to win, we got to like just double down and put money on it, make some money maybe.
Yeah. What is the line? I actually don't even know at this point.
I think it's only like 1.5 points, Kansas City.
I mean, they're already in the Super Bowl, so they don't really need to rig it either way.
That's true. I just think that there was some chatter, and I think it's all fake, that they're gonna win or they'll be behind, they'll come back and win, and Kelsey is gonna have the big touchdown to win it, and then in the post game he's gonna propose to Taylor Swift, and it'll be the highest rated post game show in the history of the NFL. Which good
for them. Something's running well in this country if they can control that. Like,
yeah. So I can see that happening. It's not so far-fetched.
As long as he retires, like, at the same time, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So Davey says, Arun, I like where your head's at. The Chiefs are only a -120 to win the game by any points. And interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's not really worth putting the money on it. And this is going to be so weird. This is going to be the first year in forever, other than like COVID years, obviously, where I'm not throwing a Super Bowl party. Usually I'd have all three of you guys over and we'd watch it, but we're going skiing the day before, and Liz is just kind of fed up with this matchup, and so she didn't want to put the work into it, which I totally understand. So I'm not going to have a Super Bowl party, which is just a weird thing. Like, it's just kind of... We were originally going to not watch it, but I don't think I've not watched a Super Bowl in my life. Like, I remember as a baby, my parents would take me to Super Bowl parties. It's so ingrained and such a big part of it. I heard somewhere that it's like tens of millions of dollars for a Super Bowl commercial this year. It's like some ridiculous number. And let me see, Super Bowl spot commercial. Let's see what it is. Cost. Super Bowl. So.
Oh yeah, $7 million for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So it's right. So they say it's over 10 million for a 1-minute ad. Wow.
I remember. I want to say
maybe the tariffs that the Orange Felon is charging against our trade partners will help pay for them. Okay, never
mind.
Yeah.
Is confetti like Canadian? We better be careful.
Yeah.
We have to pay extra.
Wow, that's crazy.
I remember we were in high school probably, and the commercials hit $1 million, and that was like a huge deal. I remember that being a story. Like, oh my God, Bud Light paid $1 million.
I think Luca could be a sponsor for Bud Light.
Yeah, just some.
Not your boy RG3. Not your boy RG3.
I don't think he's like as big of a drinker, or maybe he's part of the Jesus commercials.
Dos Equis for RG3, maybe.
RG3 has been wild. His love of the Commanders during this run. I understand that he was a former Commander or Redskin or whatever, but like, I did not expect. There was one of them where he's so amped, he's running, jogging while giving his recap of it, and someone's got to keep up with him while he does it, which is the wildest like post game reaction video I've ever seen. And it just, but he's like so over the top for them, which I love. But it was just like, I thought in some ways our franchise did not do the best by him, so I'm just kind of surprised. And he even said it himself, was going to write a book about it. There was talk of, there being a bunch of issues behind the scenes that have never seen the light of day. The book never actually came to fruition, which I thought was interesting. But I guess I didn't. It was surprising. Arun, since you're our RG3 correspondent, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll give another DC related news. Gilbert Arenas, he picked the Commanders to beat the Lions, and he was the only one on the panel, and he had 81,000 viewers today on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Gilbert Arenas and RG3, very successful DC people are supporting the Commanders. Although Gilbert Arenas calls them the Red Commanders.
By the way, Josh Harris came out today and said that the name's not changing anytime soon, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, because, oh my God, like, it's like enough already. I mean, I don't like the name Commanders more than anybody else, but like, they're not going back to the Redskins. I'm sorry. Like, maybe they could go back to the Washington football team, but now that they've won with this, it's the same sort of situation that they were having when they switched to the Washington football team. They did well their first year on that, and so it was hard for them to go back, and then I think that they're right. What I'd like to see done is just go back to the burgundy and gold, and even maybe do like the arrow helmet, like just don't have to have the Redskins in the thing, but just have it look like them, right? And then you can sort of appease people, and if people want to celebrate them, then so be it. But like, I love, we got it back over here. Those, the old helmets, I guess they are, and this is not going to happen, right? But that one could, right? And I'm also a fan. I really think they should change the name to the Washington Warriors. I've always been a fan of that. And the idea that there would be a problem in the marketplace with the Golden State Warriors is ridiculous to me. There are plenty of Eagles-based teams. There are plenty of Cardinal-based teams. There could be two teams across two different leagues with the same mascot. Like, I don't know. I think Washington Warriors is great alliteration. You could hail to the Warriors. It would make more sense, and it would be a hell of a lot better name, especially with alliteration, than Commanders. That's at least my opinion on that. But I agree, Champ. The owner of the Commanders did come out today and addressed it and said, look, we've created a new culture and a branding around this. We will still be tweaking some of the graphical stuff with it, but the name, at least in the short term, is going to stay. I'm happy he addressed it because it's nonstop, and it's on every live post that they're like, bring back the Redskins. And it's just like, it's not going to happen, especially if they want to deal with DC over the new RFK land, right? Because that was kind of part of the deal, that they weren't going to get to have it if they didn't change the name, and now the negotiations are back on the table. And so I hope that happens, and I hope they do move back to RFK for sure. Who did he say in the short run? I didn't think he gave us any hope. No, he's going to keep it Commanders, Tina. So, and we'll see if they can. If they have a couple winning seasons and get to the NFC Championship a couple years in a row, I think people are going to quickly forget about the name, because at least most people, unless they're like really diehard about the name thing, most people got behind them this year, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to behind them, but accept the name, And winning cures a lot of that. So as long as they keep winning, I think the issue is very little. So it is a big undertaking, change it. And I try not to use it. Yeah, we can just call them the Washington football team, so we don't have to call them the Commanders. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the news with regards to that. I'll give you guys...
There's other football news to talk about. Cooper Kupp's getting traded.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, he got informed today by the Rams that they're planning on trading him. And,
RG3 says Washington, just to connect everything together. He tweeted that 3 hours ago. Yeah, he said Washington should get him.
Yeah, but Kupp posted on X, he said, quote, I was informed that the team will be seeking a trade immediately and will be working with me and my family to find the right place to continue competing for championships. I don't agree with the decision and always believed it was going to begin and end in LA. And then Puka had a very clever response to this news on X. Simply put, quote, "So I thought it was just the NBA trade season."
I like how LA though has a Puka and a Luka now.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, wild stuff. It'll be interesting to see what other things happen in the offseason. The Commanders have a lot of cap space, and if we could shore up some of our run defense here, I think we could be a legitimate force going forward. And it'll be interesting to see how these teams do. I mean, I don't know. Dallas made some questionable calls with their coaching hiring. New York doesn't look like they're making any major moves in the right direction. Obviously, the Eagles will be there again. One of the other advantages if they win the Super Bowl, and I guess if just even going to the Super Bowl is going to happen, some of their players are going to get paid, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the salary cap situation. It's going to be difficult for them going forward because there's always a bit of a hangover when you're in the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, and it's actually kind of in some ways surprising they're able to get back there 2 years later, and really surprising. I'll give we talked shit on Kansas City for a lot of this, but they're the first team to ever win 2 Super Bowls and get back for a third, right? Very few teams even make it to 3 Super Bowls, and I think of the poor Bills, making it to 4 in a row, but not winning. I was so hoping that they would win, but how funny would it have been if they had won that game and then lost to the Eagles, and it was the one franchise that they had not
Yeah,
lost?
that's what I was thinking. I was like, the Eagles and the Bills, that's going to be like the NFC East sweep. I was like, no. I mean, that'll just be like the Eagles are definitely going to win, I felt like, if that happened.
Yeah, I kind of felt that too. So, although I was still hoping for the Bills versus Commanders rematch, right? That would have been such a cool story all these years later, for sure. And Tina said the script was in before the season started. It is weird that the logo, the last bunch of years, has predicted the colors of the teams in the Super Bowl, and there are things that I know that I shouldn't be a conspiracy theorist, but it's the Super Bowl logo is red and green this year, and it's.
Was it that before, or was it that they decided now because based on the
No, it's been that way. It was that they released the logo before the playoffs start.
But I guess they were both the number 1 seeds, right?
No, the Lions.
I mean Lions, yeah. So then it should be red and blue. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's frustrating. He said it was just silver letters and a trophy for a decade. That's true. No, I'm talking about in like recent years. They've done a redesigned logo for every season, and almost every season for the last, I think it was like 5 or 6 years, it's been dead on, which is weird to me. So, but yeah, kind of frustrating. But we'll see. All right, I'll give everyone a final thoughts on the Super Bowl, and then Champ and I are going to talk a little bit of wrestling to end the show. But Rune, final take on the Super Bowl, or any final thoughts you wanted to give before we let you go?
I guess I'm going to have to warm up my duck hunt and turn it on, and I don't really have any more thoughts, and that's about it. I don't have any RG3 takes or anything like that.
Well, at least we brought him up today, so you got your RG3 in. So
yeah.
Awesome. And Tim, any final thoughts from you?
No, just enjoy the halftime show. That's probably going to be the best part.
I'm not even a big fan of his, so I was like, that's probably the hardest part. Is like, I don't know, like I know he's good, but I don't know. I've never
performing in a halftime show.
Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, you don't like K-Dot? Damn, that's fucked up. Oh, you don't like K-Dot? I like K-Dot.
I honestly just don't listen to his music. It's not that I like or dislike it. I just don't listen to it, So I mostly, honestly, listen.
More of a Drake fan.
Right. I have to say, like, in recent years, I definitely in college listened to more like hip hop and rap and that sort of stuff. And in more recent years, I've just kind of moved away from that. And mostly like listen to Twitch streams, and that's where I get most of my music. And you know, Linkin Park and a couple of other bands and stuff like that. But yeah,
He did a duet with Imagine Dragons.
I don't know if I even heard that. So yeah, but that's cool.
I might check that out. I might not though.
Exactly. So, David says, I like Kate Out. He's a legend. Yeah, I sound very ignorant. I just don't know much of his music. And, but I mean, good for the people that do like him. There's no shade being thrown. It's not that I like hate him or anything. I just don't listen, you know? And I mean, I used to love like Eminem and a lot of other things, and I just don't listen to that hardly ever at all anymore. So, but Dave, you're gonna learn from here. Thank you for joining us, and thank everyone for being a part of the show in chat or across all of our different streams, and I really appreciate it. But Tim and Arun, thank you as always. We actually had an NBA roundtable tonight, so it was nice to have all three of us back together, be able to talk some NBA news, and who knows, maybe they'll win again in the future, and we'll get to talk about them again. But I appreciate both of you. Hope that you guys both enjoy the game. I'm sorry that it's not with me for the first time in a long time, but I hope that you guys... or I'll ask you, this is the last question. Arun and Tim, what are your plans for the Super Bowl? Are you just going to do it at your house or going to go somewhere?
I'm just probably going to watch it at home and order a lot of food. That's my plan.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I don't think I'll do anything big.
Yeah, so it's pretty much the same for me as well. So it'll be interesting. I know that Champ is doing the Lyft thing, which he's probably the smartest of all of us, makes some real money off this. So, but awesome. Well, Tim and Arun, I will maybe we'll have you back next week to recap the Super Bowl, and hope that you guys have a great week.
Sure.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one. See ya.
All right, Champ, we're gonna switch to the no spots graphic and. There we go. And I know that you already talked to Davey about this, but I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about it as well. Obviously, the Royal Rumble is the big thing in the news. I just finished watching Raw. I was having that on in the background as well. I thought it was actually a really good episode of Raw. So, Champ, what were your thoughts on the Royal Rumble?
The Royal Rumble was a lot of fun. The Women's Rumble was actually one of the better ones since they introduced it in the mid-2010s. You had a lot of great surprises, including the return of Alexa Bliss, where the internet said she wasn't coming back anytime soon. They dropped all the creative plans. There's a contract impasse, and then next thing you know, she's walking out and got one of the biggest reactions of the night, including from myself and Sip and Sage, which is one of the things I'm hoping to clip from the VOD and put up on TikTok, because that was an amazing moment there to see Little Miss Bliss make her return after almost 2 years gone, after dealing with about a small bout of skin cancer and then having a baby and everything like that. To see her back, Trish Stratus being in there, the Hall of Famer, Nikki Bella, another Hall of Famer, seeing a couple of young ladies from NXT be a part of it. See Roxanne Perez, who's been killing it in NXT, set a new record for being the longest in a women's Royal Rumble match, 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 47 seconds. She was one of 3 ladies who lasted an hour in the match. And so the women's match was good. The tag team title match was quite disappointing, only because I was expecting this match to go pretty long, and it was only 14 minutes, which is extremely short for a 2 out of 3 falls match. It's 14 minutes. That's almost 5 minutes per fall, which is not, which when you have 2 teams the caliber of the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY, you're expecting each fall to be longer than 5 minutes, and you're expecting a 20-plus minute matchup, and they didn't get that. So I was a bit disappointed about that, because I predicted on the podcast that that match was going to be match of the night, and it came nowhere close to that. Not to say that it was a bad match. The match was really good. It was just really short. Cody and KO was an absolutely violent affair. Some of the bumps that these two guys took were just absolutely insane. When KO hit that little fisherman suplex slam off the rope on the ladder, everybody was saying "Rest in peace, Cody." And then moments later, he hit Cody Alabama slam KO onto a ladder and broke. It's like, well, rest in peace, Kevin. So really, that was a really physical, violent affair. And then the men's match was pretty good with a really surprising result. I don't think anybody had Jey Uso in their bingo card as winning the Royal Rumble. I don't think anybody had that. As a matter of fact, me and Sid both picked CM Punk to win it all, and he ended up getting eliminated in the final 5. And I think that was a bit of a surprise. And then even more surprise that the last 2 were John Cena and Jey Uso. I think everybody and their mama thought it was going to be Cena since it's his last run. And there was a lot of rumors that they're going to try to get him to break the record for most world championships in wrestling at 17. But instead, boom, he gets eliminated by Jey Uso. And now Jey Uso has a shot at whatever championship he wants. And I think he's leaning towards Walter in the World Heavyweight Championship. I have to rewatch Raw to find out because I had the volume on low while I was doing Davy's show. So I'm going to have to rewatch it and listen to the promo between him and Walter to see where that's going. Charlotte Flair won the Women's Royal Rumble, which I predicted as well. I felt that when they first announced that she was going to be in it and she wasn't going to be like a surprise, I felt like, oh, it's going to be her because, one thing about Charlotte Flair and her tenure in WWE, whether it be NXT or on the main roster, she's usually in storylines or in angles which involve the top championship, even though now they have mid-card championships like the U.S. Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. But I feel like Charlotte's the type of talent. She's always going to be in the world title scene on the women's side. So I knew that she was going to win the Royal Rumble to put her in position to be in the world title picture coming into WrestleMania. And so there's that. But Royal Rumble overall was a really fun, really good show. I can't wait to talk with Sith about it this coming weekend and really expound upon our thoughts on it. He's probably already done his rewatch on it, and we'll have good, a lot of thoughts and analysis on it this coming weekend on the No Spots podcast. But really fun live reactions, especially having Sage there. It's always a treat when when Sage joins me and Sith because he brings such a different perspective, being that he's a trained wrestler and has done a couple professional shows and stuff like that. So he understands that side of the coin and everything like that. So it's great to have that perspective. Plus, he's just a wild individual. He just says whatever the hell comes out of his brain.
I loved it. I have to say I wasn't able to watch it live, but I did listen back to the whole entire show that you were doing, and he got me so amped for this thing. And what I was doing is I was listening to it, and then I also watched the highlights so I could see sort of. But I kind of wanted to see your guys' reaction first before I saw the highlights, just because I wanted to, get it sort of like without knowing what was going to happen. And even without watching it alongside of you guys, the energy that you guys brought to that show was one of my favorite watch-alongs I think that you guys have done, and he added a lot to it for sure. And you guys had a fun time, and it was and so if people want to catch some of that VOD is still up on the No Spots channel, and so I just did the command for Ken in chat for people who want to go check that out for sure. But I thought it was a really great watch along. I was amped listening to it while I was working earlier today. So and then watching the highlights later. And I saw that you and Davey were watching some of the highlights and commentating about it as well.
I told Davey about the spot in the Royal Rumble where IShowSpeed, who's a very well-known Twitch streamer and content creator, actually got roped into being in the Rumble match after Akira Tozawa got knocked out of the matchup after getting attacked by Carmelo Hayes as Tozawa was making his entrance at number 8. And IShowSpeed just happened to be back in gorilla position with Triple H and all them. And Tripp said, "You're in the Rumble, go." And he's just like, what you mean? And he goes out there. He has the whole entrance with a video graphic and everything. He goes in there. He helps to eliminate Otis. He helps Braun Breaker eliminate Otis. And then he's like thinking Braun Breaker's cool with him. He sits there, he does a little backflip, and then Braun just takes a full head of steam, goes off this rope, comes back, goes off this rope, and just kills IShowSpeed with a spear. Like, absolutely destroyed this kid. And then turns around, picks him up, military press style, up like this and then throws him out, and Otis catches him. And I'm thinking, okay, Otis is just going to drop him on the floor and that's going to be it. Nope. Otis just fall away, slams him into the announce desk, and it's like, well, this kid's dead. Get him out of here. So it was a highly viewed clip on social media. Matter of fact, they said on Raw on this episode of Raw that over 300 views they had got over 300 views just for that clip alone of IShowSpeed getting absolutely killed by Braun Breaker and Otis in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and he also, I saw a later clip that he got bad like rug burn almost on his leg, just like a whole chunk of his leg I think was like missing.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was just like, hey, we say it on the No Spots podcast all the time, this ain't no ballet, kid.
It may be scripted, but it definitely isn't like fake. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between like having a script and having, like it not be real. I mean, these people are taking real bumps and they're really falling off these giant, heights. I mean, that ladder match was brutal. Like it's like
I'll tell you, like I said to Davey earlier on, for those who think that wrestling is fake, people don't understand. A wrestling mat, there's a little thing over top of it, little sheet over top of it, but there's a little thin piece of foam, a foam mat between the sheet and a bunch of 2x4s. And like I said, that foam is like extremely thin. It's razor thin. I've been slammed on that a few times. That shit hurts. I've been chopped before. That shit hurts. So anybody that wants to think that wrestling is fake, get in a wrestling ring, take a few bumps and get chopped a few times or get forearmed a few times, and then you tell me if it's fake or not.
Yeah.
Because I can promise you it's not.
Right. I think what they do, the acrobatics and the crazy stunts that they do, I mean, it's just some pretty awesome stuff. So I did want to do one quick little shout out before we start to wrap things up. I know that Tina did get her shirt. I saw that you promoting your spot with Davey in the shirt. I am wearing it. I have not talked about it, but it is out. So anyone who still wants to celebrate the good season for the Commanders, you can still check that out at merch.sportsothp.com or do the merch, ! Merch. I'll do it in the chat for anybody. And so I am, in fact, wearing it so people can see what it looks like live. I really love how the print came out. Like, I think we had so much fun making it, and then we've got the back as well. I don't know if I can show my back, but here we go. Can you see it? I don't know. But it's got the logo and stuff on the back. But yeah, Champ, I'm going to give you sort of the final say of the podcast. What are your final thoughts before I end things up tonight?
Well, I will say, like I said, I got my shirt, my hoodie came first, and then I got the shirt a few days later. I actually wore the shirt during live reactions, which was pretty cool, and everything like that. So great job on the shirt. It was really, really awesome. And I just want to say, make sure that you guys check out No Spots this weekend. It will be streaming live on Saturday night. Because of the Super Bowl happening on Sunday. So we're going to be streaming on Saturday night. We're going to give a full recap of the Royal Rumble. Myself and Sith, we're also going to be looking at all the fallout from the Royal Rumble with Raw that just happened. And then, of course, with SmackDown, even NXT, since a few NXT talents were a part of the Royal Rumble matches this past weekend. And they got Vengeance Day coming up. Also, just a reminder, myself and Sage will be at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in DC for Vengeance Day. So if you're planning to go, you want to come and say hello to myself and Sage, please feel free. I'll probably be walking around with some kind of wrestling shirt on. I don't know which one. I got so many of them. But we'll be there. But again, this Saturday around 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll be streaming live on Twitch for the No Spots Weekly Wrestling Podcast at twitch.tv/TrueNoSpotsPod. And make sure you check out our TikTok.com/@TrueNoSpotsPod. When I stop being a lazy ass wipe and actually get on my computer and pull up the VOD from our live reactions, I'm going to be clipping some of our bigger reactions and then going to look for the actual highlight videos and putting them together to put on TikTok so that y'all can see side by side or like in comparison our reactions to some of the big moments from the Royal Rumble matches. So again, that's TikTok.com/@TrueNoSpotsPod and also Twitch.tv/TrueNoSpotsPod. And you can also check out facebook.com/, no spots pod as well, and also x.com/, true no spots pod as well. That's all I got.
Yep, you can always go to sportsothp.com. We also have all the old shows there. Also, you can click the podcast partners button. You can see the No Spots Pod link there, as well as the Power Play Point podcast from Gil and Anna earlier. And I'm trying to keep up to doing it. I've been pretty delayed in it, so definitely my YouTube channel always has these VODs, as well as the Twitch channel as well for these shows. And I still need to put up last week's, and I'll put up this week's, and I'll try to get better at that. I do have a bunch of scuba videos up on my YouTube channel. I'm trying to finish up. I have one more movie to make for that. If you want to check out the shorter reels of that, you can always check out my Instagram, Robbie G_SportsOTHP on Instagram. Same as the Twitch handle. And I'm now putting those as the beginning of these streams. I thought it'd be kind of fun for people who might not know I do scuba movies to see that. Just changing stuff up. I've loved Andy's song that we've used for years now, but I thought I would just change things up a little bit for this winter season and see if people like some of the scuba movies, give that to a different audience as well. So go check out any of that if you'd like. We are going to raid Malika Music today, a good friend of mine, and she's a lot of fun. We can grab our raid calls and sub-raid calls if you have that. So I appreciate you, Champ, for joining us. We'll recap the Super Bowl next week. We will also talk about the last 3 games for the Caps before their big break, and then we'll take a week off on the 17th, and then we'll be back at the end of the month. Again, the 24th, we'll have an episode. We'll also have an episode on the 3rd. The 10th, we'll celebrate 9 years of this podcast and the end of season 9, and then we will take 3 weeks off before we start season 10, and we'll bring the Defenders talk back for that, and we might do some March Madness as well. So hope that you guys enjoyed the raid and join me in saying hi to Malika. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and with that I think I'm going to hit the raid button and hope that you guys all have a great night, and thanks for tuning in.